Jim Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content. I'm Jim Kunkel, and welcome to a new episode of Global Topic. Today's topic will be commercial and institutional floor coatings, and my guest today will be Mike Damon, Territory Manager with National Polymers, working in epoxy flooring. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, Mike, welcome to Global Topic.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Not a problem. Hey, for the viewers, if you could do me a favor and provide a background regarding National Polymers, and also if you could talk about your role with National Polymers as well.
Absolutely. National Polymers is a private label manufacturer of epoxy and urethane floor coatings, mostly. We do some other things, but that's our primary business. We've been doing it for about 32 years now. My role is as a senior sales and tech rep at the company. We kind of live by the philosophy that we put the stuff in the can, but put your name on the outside.
Very good, very good. Mike, thank you for providing the background on National Polymers and your role. According to Research and Markets, epoxy floor coatings, represents a $6 billion US dollar global market and is currently growing at a rate of about 5% year over year. When you look at the commercial and institutional floor coatings market, typically what makes up the commercial institutional market when it comes to floor coatings?
So those are two different things. On the commercial side, it can be anything from stores and office buildings to warehousing. That's more, that would be one of the biggest areas that we see the floor coating market. And really on the institutional side, we see schools, universities, hospitals, jails use our coatings on a regular basis.
So, what advantages do epoxy floor coatings provide?
Well, in this day and age, one of the easiest things is they can be seamless, and that allows you for easy cleaning. There's no grout lines to trap dirt. You can put cove molding in. It's integral to the floor. It allows you to really approach cleaning and sanitation in an easy way. You don't have to struggle with corners or anything like that where it can trap dirt. On one of the other benefits is we can add antimicrobial additives, and that, while it doesn't necessarily kill everything, it prevents stuff from growing and keeps bacteria at bay.
So you'd say that, obviously you want to protect and preserve the floor, but also you have to look at safeguarding for slips and falls. And to your point related to the current pandemic, even antimicrobial protection of the occupants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Slip and fall, one of the great things with the epoxy floor coatings is we can completely tailor the system to meet the environment where the floor is being used. It can be a complete custom floor where with vinyl tile or something like that, you may not have the options.
For large institutional floor coating projects, what's the typical process for concrete floor assessment, surface preparation, and coating application that needs to be conducted to achieve success?
Okay, the first starts with analyzing the environment. Let's do a walkthrough with the customer and find out what their needs are, what areas are concerns. If it's a new build, what's the project schedule, when's stuff going to happen. If it's an existing building, I like to be on site and walk through and see what is going on in the building. Are there areas where there's already substantial wear or staining or something that's, anything that you could look at that's happening in there? Is there an area where there's standing water all the time? Entryways and stuff like that where you may need more aggressive texture to prevent slips and falls. Are there areas where in a in a school or a hospital where they're storing their chemicals and cleaning stuff. Well, they may need a Novolac system in that area to protect against the chemical spills, because usually those are concentrated chemicals at that point.
So,
What?
okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it sounds like there's different formulations and different systems that can be applied to multiple type of service environments and internal applications too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But once we've kind of determined what the use of the area is going to be, the next thing is to start to inspect the concrete to look for areas of failure. One thing that I've always tried to do is go through and sound the floor, either drag a chain or tap it with a hammer or a Leatherman or a tool, and see and listen for hollow spots. There's no point in putting a coating or a flooring down over an area that's, if the concrete is already starting to spall and fall apart and you don't know it, you better, before you even start the process, let's find the bad areas first. Once you've done that, assess the cracks and joints that may need to be filled and addressed. And from that point, you're getting, you've talked to the customer what the environment's going to take and need on as far as what coatings we need to use and what system we would need to use. When you get to the install side of it, that's when it really becomes key. You have to prep the floor. I don't know how many times us guys in the industry say this. Prep is the key. If you don't do the prep, the floor will not work. It's not going to stick. You're not going to get long-term adhesion and long-term performance out of the floor. And for most coatings, we're looking at dry prep. And using shot blasters or diamond grinders or scarifiers. The prep really depends on the system that you're going to put in. So if you have a thin film system, you cannot go in there and give you a CSP profile of 5 or 6. You have to go in and keep the profile at a 2 to 3. If you've got a 1/4-inch system going in, you can beat the floor up as much as you want ahead of time. And in fact, I would recommend you do so. The thicker the system, the more aggressive the prep needs to be.
Very good.
After that, it gets down to really the install itself. And looking at when you're walking through the floor and walking through the environment, look and see where you're going to set up your mixing stations. Where's your do you have access to electricity? Do you have access to garbage? Are you going to be able to dump the dust? Do you have to haul it off? Do you have to? Are there areas where, hey, maybe there's pipes that aren't, plumbing that hasn't been completed, and is there going to be rainstorms when you're doing the install? There's all these different factors. You got to kind of be aware of the whole project before you get in there. Are you going to have the room to yourself? Are there going to be other people working around you? That can actually limit what coatings are available, because you can't go in and use something that may have a higher VOC or a higher solvent in an environment where there's other people working.
And also to probably return to service, how much time do you have to do the project?
Yep. Yeah. And working real close with your GC or the person running the project or the building owner, it give them realistic expectations. You cannot, you have to tell them what time you really need and be honest with them. If the building's not conditioned space and it's at 45 degrees, you're not going to get a 6 or 8 hour turnaround time where people could start walking on the floor. You're going to need more time for the coatings to cure.
Very good. Now that we've talked about the assessment, the preparation, and also the pre-project, the pre-application planning, when it comes to floor coating selection, are there resources available for commercial and institutional facility owners that they can inform and educate themselves so they can make, a proper determination on the selection of floor coatings that are suitable for their particular needs?
Absolutely. Well, one would be if they have a relationship with an existing manufacturer, use those manufacturers' reps. Look at the manufacturer websites. Most of the upper tier and better coatings companies will have systems and have they'll have breakdowns on for specific environments. They'll tell you, and they'll give you data sheets and system guides, and basic system recommendations for different types of environments. That's my favorite. If you've got a rep, get familiar with your rep. If you've got a good coating contractor that you've already worked with, work with them, and have them walk through and tell them what you're using the space for. If they don't, unfortunately, architects will see stuff a lot of times and specify a generic coating system that may not meet the needs exactly of what the customer is going to be doing. And a rep or a coating installer contractor will know better a lot of times.
That's a great recommendation. Mike, what a great conversation, we're having regarding this topic. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd want to leave with the viewers?
Again, I guess the biggest thing is make sure that the expectations of what the floor is being used for and managing the customer's expectations is one of the most important parts of doing floor coatings, and any contracting really for that matter. If you have an area that's getting abused, if they're pushing skids across the floor, if they're dragging stuff, you see that's happening on a regular basis. Customer cannot expect a coating to give you a showroom shine forever in that situation. That to me is almost as big as product selection, is having a good relationship with the customer and determining their needs and making sure they're aware of what they're getting. And maintenance is key too. I would say the one thing we didn't talk about is, we kind of touched on it, but we didn't really say that, no floor is no maintenance. No matter what anybody says, every floor needs to be maintained and cleaned, and work with your rep or your salesperson to determine what products you should be using to clean the floor.
So for everyone watching this episode, in the video description, I will have links for National Polymers, and I also have Mike's LinkedIn profile link if you would want to connect with him professionally on LinkedIn. Mike, thank you for the opportunity to have a conversation with you today.
Thank you.
Hey, have a great day.
You too, Jim. Thanks.
So, Joe, for the lay person who's watching this episode, who might only think that corrosion engineering is related to metal corrosion, as an overview, what else does corrosion engineering relate to?